As we all know, balancing a multiplayer game is like fighting a Hydra. You cut off one ugly head, another one takes its place. It's a cycle of buffs and nerfs, and when you take away the power of one thing, something else comes along. It's kind of just the nature of these things, and for those of you that have played Overwatch, you've probably experienced this in spades. An OP character gets nerfed, another one steps up and becomes a problem because the nerfed character isn't able to keep him in check anymore. Now, For Honor isn't quite like Overwatch in the way that certain heroes counter others to that extreme, but where we are in the game right now, there is definitely a defined meta. There are perceived S, A, and B tier characters, builds you need to go for to be competitive in 4v4, and so on, but anyway, lengthy intro aside, today I wanted to hopefully start a discussion with you guys based off recent events. I wanted to talk about the current meta for those of you that may be new here, and just to provide a frame of reference, and also, given the news of the changes coming our way here in the hopefully near future, I wanted to talk about what we may start seeing down the line. So currently in For Honor, if the tournaments are anything to go by, the top characters in the game right now are Conqueror, Warlord, Peacekeeper, and Warden. These characters, give or take, are usually the ones we see winning tournaments. With the coming patch, Warlord and Peacekeeper, who I'm going to refer to as PK from here on out, are slated for a few changes that'll definitely affect their gameplay. Now, with the coming patch, I'm not sure PK will be too heavily affected. She'll still have extremely fast light attacks, which is pretty much her bread and butter, so I'm sure you'll still be seeing a lot of her. Warlord, on the other hand, is getting a change to one of his best tools, the headbutt. It'll be slower, easier to react to, and more punishable in theory anyway. So that begs the question, will these changes affect the tier ranking of these characters? Honestly, I'm not sure, and I think it's too soon to tell right now, but what I will say is with the coming Lawbringer buffs, we might be seeing more of him in the competitive scene. Another character right now that I think people are sleeping on is the Valkyrie. More and more I'm seeing people play this character, and in the right hands, she's definitely a monster. Super fast light attacks, plenty of disruption, and decent mix-ups. I can definitely tell that Valk is a problem right now because of the sheer amount of people complaining about her. She's a strong character for sure, but as of yet, I haven't seen her too much on the competitive scene, so we'll have to see how that plays out. Now, aside from characters getting changed, we're also looking at some changes to major game mechanics, namely revenge in the current defensive play meta. We don't really have any definitive information on what they're going to do to defensive play, but we've got some hard numbers on revenge, so let's talk about that first. From where I'm standing, I want to go ahead and say right out of the gate that I don't think these changes to revenge will totally make it non-viable. People are still going to run it, and it's still going to be powerful. It still increases damage, it gives infinite stamina, allows some characters to repeatedly knock you to the ground with their abilities, increases your defense, and gives you an auto parry when you trigger it. Even if they nerfed revenge by another 50% overall on top of what they're already planning, it's still a useful tool, if only for the mechanical changes to certain characters that it allows. But for the sake of discussion, let's say that something else does take its place and a new non-revenge meta emerges. What would that look like? Well, one of the best speculations I've seen so far, and something I can totally see happening, is an increased reliance on feats. People don't really talk about feats much, but in the right situation, they can and have had way more deciding power in the fate of a match than a character with a revenge build. I've seen a single well-placed trebuchet shot, fire flask, or grenade win many matches. On top of that, there are plenty of powerful active feats that basically mimic revenge. The Berserker is an excellent example of this. He's got two feats that can both be equipped and used at the same time that significantly raises attack, defense, and movement speed, and he's not even the only character like this. Some of the others on the roster have got heal feats, bleed feats, and so on, and that's not to mention also that ranged attacks are a thing, and their damage stacks with attack buffs. So in the future, if the revenge meta does take a dive, we might be looking at a lot of people running feat cooldown reduction on gear depending on what character they play. It's like I said though, we can't know for sure if this will happen, but I think it's interesting to at least talk about for discussion's sake. Moving on though, as for defensive play, there's a few speculations going around for that too. The main one, of course, is to make parries less rewarding. Currently, waiting for a parry is a low-risk, very high-reward tactic. One of the speculations I've seen is that they could change parry recovery time so that you can only get a light attack off. No more guaranteed guard breaks or heavies for some characters. This change, in my opinion, would make assassin characters very strong with their deflect mechanics, especially Berserker. Warden with his crush counter riposte move and Warlord with his shield bash stun and poke combo after a parry would also be tough to deal with. Characters like Kensei and Raider would definitely suffer with this sort of change though. I'm not sure this is the right solution, but it sounds like it could be something that we might see. Regardless though, as it stands now, I feel fairly comfortable in saying that you can currently get way too much from a single parry. Another suggestion for the defensive meta I saw is that chip damage and block damage need to be increased. Again, this would make assassins very strong compared to other characters. Not only can they dodge easier than any other class, they can also attack while doing it. Not many other class types have that kind of mobility advantage, so we'll just have to see how it plays out. I'm very interested in the outcome though. But yeah, guys, I just wanted to hopefully get a conversation started on all this, and I'm really interested to know what you think the battlefield will look like in For Honor's future. But that is it for today though. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like down below, and if you're new here, get subscribed so that you never miss any new content. Until next time, I'm BouseFeenux. I'll see you at the next video, and as always, thank you so much for watching.